can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. I saw that. Boy, all that like Kenny. I did that. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix.
All right, what's going on? Welcome to Breaking Bet Episode 3. I'm your host, Johnny VTV, live here with Bet Karma. College baseball was a great weekend last week, and as we get closer into conference play, we have about a couple more weeks left. There's some really good matchups that I was looking forward to. If you saw my tweet earlier this week, I highlighted some of them. But again, I loved how much I had my last guest on last Friday, so we had to bring him back this week, wasting no time right away. Our boy Matt Grissom, who nailed Iowa LSU last week. Got to bring him out. How you doing, brother? Thanks for coming on.
I'm doing good. Recovering from a week-long trip to Las Vegas. So a little scattered today, but trying to get back in the groove.
Yeah, man. How was Vegas? I saw you renting a nice shiny red car, hitting up the books. Did you find some good numbers? How was your trip?
Yeah, so what sucks is college baseball lines just aren't as big out there. You've got to drive into Arizona, which is about a 45-minute drive to get on DraftKings. But outside of that, man, it was a blast. I always love going out there, hanging out with the guys at Circa. Love it.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean. I was just out there a couple weeks ago. Had a good time. It's just annoying. You can't always get in Vegas, which is like kind of ironic, I guess. You can't get college baseball lines almost ever. And when you do, they're kind of last second. And, there's not that many games, only a select few. And by that point, it's very kind of off-putting, I suppose you would call it. But all right, Matt, we got a lot to do. And all right, listen, let's start it off real quick before we get into week 3. You know the drill. Let's break down week 2. Who is your big winners and losers?
Obviously, Iowa on Saturday was a good one, but they didn't show up Friday night against Sam Houston State. That one stung a little, and it almost scared me so bad at how awful they were on offense to even bet them against LSU. But in this avenue of sports gambling, you've got to stick to your guns. Baseball is a very much, all right, go to sleep, wake up, do it all over the next day, and what happened yesterday does not matter. So just had to stick to it, plus 240 winner. Outside of that, I mean, I think I pretty much broke even on the weekend. I tried to tweet out as many plays as I could, but having a very limited betting menu out there, it was difficult to get down on as many games as I wanted to.
So you know what's funny? The whole thing with that is, we talked about it. Iowa is. There were a play that you got me interested in with Brody Breckton, that they saved him for that LSU game. And honestly, anybody that watched that game, and I had trouble watching it because of the paywall behind it on D1 Baseball. And, it was not working actually for a little while. Me and my friend, we bought the stream, and for the first few innings, we couldn't get it up. But I was catching clips of it. Brody Breckton, obviously his stuff is phenomenal. We both know that. He's got over 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got a great slider, but he walked 8 batters in less than 5 innings. I think it was maybe 3 2/3 innings. He walks 8 guys. And, I told you I was so pissed off with the Iowa result from Friday that I was like, all right, I can't take them. I think they might. How are they going to score runs against LSU if they can't score it against Sam Houston? And then I went on my podcast Saturday and I said, watch what happens. It's baseball. They get shut out by Sam Houston, but they're going to put up like 6 or 7 on LSU. Meanwhile, they put up like 12 runs. So that was a big winner. I would think my big winner would probably be Florida State. I had a lot of doubts about them, and they really surprised me. It was a big win against a good TCU team. But on the same token, the big loser has to be TCU. This is a team that has big aspirations this year. And while I still don't buy Florida State as a true contender, they may be ahead of schedule in Link Jarrett's first year. TCU's pitching is a big problem. It's a big problem. Ryan Vanderhey was really good on Friday against Florida State, had a great duel with Jackson Baumeister. And then the bullpen, it just gets out of hand late in the innings. We end up hitting the over at 10.5 or 11.5, whatever it was, even though it was like 1-0 after 6 innings. So I definitely think two teams on opposite ends of the spectrum. And then I got to throw Maryland as my other big loser in there. Pull a great one out on Friday night with Jason Savacool. Chance for a rematch tonight or this afternoon. And then they just get mopped Saturday, Sunday. Bullpen was atrocious again. We know this about Maryland. So I think that's where my head's at on the winners and losers end.
Yeah, that was disappointing for Maryland. I really thought that they could beat Ole Miss at least twice. We'll see if they can take this game again tonight. I would assume they're going to throw Savacool because they really want to get this win. But I was writing down Florida State when you said definitely one of your big winners was Florida State. And I don't know how much of a testament this is to how bad TCU, maybe not how bad, how much was it an overreaction after watching TCU beat Arkansas in Globe Life Field in Arlington and Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Maybe they aren't that great. I mean, I know they were ready to be put up in the, this team is definitely going to Omaha. And then on the other side of that, Oklahoma State, who looked like they had no pitching, now they're pitching. They had back-to-back no-hitters, combined no-hitters this past weekend. So who knows? I think it all goes down to it's too early to really tell. Another team that is really surprising me, and not so much, I guess, surprising me in the sense of how good they're doing, it's Florida. And they've got a good series against Miami this weekend. I think it's going to tell us a lot. I know I tweeted out that I'm heavy on the Gators, and Ben Upton likes Miami. Man, Florida can smash, and as long as their pitching stays consistent, I know they're getting back their third day guy. And
I don't want to interrupt you, but that's our big game that we're talking about. And can we save it for the
yeah.
Let's save it for a little bit later.
But I'm very impressed with the Florida Gators this year.
That's going to be first on our list, actually. So it's coming right up right after this. If you want all the best player prop predictions and bets, go to betkarma.com/JohnnyVTV today. We have everything you need all covered. Predictions, signups, log in today. You'll see my articles and all my favorite picks throughout the week and throughout the season. All right, Matt, you just spoke about it. Start us off with this Gators-Miami game. I highlighted, if you saw my tweet the other day. To me, this is the best series of the weekend, right in front of Texas State, Grand Canyon. I think this is a pivotal showdown between two top 25 teams.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. And I'm not sure why the number's so low. I guess they're giving Miami a lot more credit than what I am. Miami just doesn't have the pitching this year to contend, and I don't see how they're going to be able to slow down this Florida offense. They're too good. I don't know if Miami's going to be able to win a game. I think this is a 3-0 sweep.
So it's funny you were thinking that, right? I had this thought in my head, and when you said somebody like Ben Upton and those guys 11.7, they like Miami. They like Miami for the series. I thought about why would they like Miami? What is interesting about them? And then what I kind of thought was, if they had a chance to win any game in the series, it'd be tonight. Ironically enough, against Brandon Sproat, the Friday guy. But anybody who's been watching Florida knows Sproat has been the worst pitcher in the rotation for Florida so far through a couple starts. Hurston Waldrop tomorrow, that should be another play that's probably going to be my number one for Saturday slate. And then Sunday, Jack Haggs, he looks like that's another lean towards Florida. So maybe he's thinking today is Miami's best shot, which I don't know. I don't necessarily think Miami's going to win. So here we go. This is my write-up. This is my favorite play today. The line moved a little bit and came back. I got the Florida Gators at -135, just like you. This is my number one play for this simple reason. There are maybe 4 or 5 times this year in the regular season that you're going to be able to take the Gators at this low of a price. This is just this does not happen. If you've been paying attention for the last few weeks of college baseball, Florida's been at least -240 or higher every single game. And then you get a gift to get them at -135, -140. Miami's throwing Gage Zeal. Gage Zeal last year as a freshman had the most appearances on Miami's roster, Matt. He had 30 appearances. Do you know how many starts he had?
How many?
None. So this year, Miami decides to replace Carson Palmquist, 2022's ace. They skip over Carson Ligon, their Saturday guy, who remains their Saturday guy again, and throw Gage Zeal in just his third career start against the Florida Gators. The maybe number 2 offense in the country. They have the third most runs scored through this part of the season, behind Wake Forest and I think Texas Tech. This guy's already given up 9 earned runs in 7 innings to 2 bad teams, Penn State and Dartmouth. So if we're putting all that together, my math is telling me Florida, whether they win or not, which I think they definitely should win, is an incredible value play. Even though Brandon Sproat's got a little bit of struggles on his own right now, he's not been terrible. He just hasn't been great. I think we're in agreement here. This has got to be the Florida Gators game. This is a great matchup for them at a fantastic price. I think it's wrong. You're going to get minus 160 at Caesars. I think this is probably closer to the minus 175, minus 180 range.
Yeah, I was on with the notebook wagering guys on Wednesday night, and I told them that I liked Florida, and I thought the price would be Florida minus 180, 185, somewhere in that ballpark. When it came out, it was an automatic 2-unit play for me. Definitely Florida Gators.
Yeah, this is a hammer play. I want to see how they play. I want to see how Florida comes out today, because if they look good, or at least even 70% of what they've been looking like, it's probably a 2 or 3 unit play for tomorrow with Hurston Waldrop, depending on what the score is. So here's the thing. If you bet Florida today, here's what you're hoping for. You hope the Gators win like a 8-5 game. You don't want the Gators to blow them out, because what might happen is we both agree that the books are wrong on this game. Very wrong. So if the Gators blow them out, if the Gators win like 10-0 today, then tomorrow that price is going to be reflected. But if it's a close game, then it's like, okay, Miami's capable of beating them, so we're gonna keep that price close to where it is. And then that's where you throw a 2-3 unit play on Hurston Waldrop tomorrow, because Waldrop looks like he might be the second pitcher off the board behind Chase Dollander.
I think that's July. How you play it.
Yeah. And one more quick note, because so Matt, I woke up at 5:00 this morning, Eastern time. I was really hoping that we were going to get more lines drop at like 11:30 last night. And I kept waiting and I kept checking, refreshing, because I wanted to get ahead of the number, right?
Yeah.
I ended up waking up at 5 a.m. Eastern time. And I was scrolling through it, and I couldn't believe this number when I woke it up. But, DraftKings has been very slow to put out run lines and totals. And I said, if there's anything under 12.5 total-wise for this game, I'm taking the over. The over, to me, is also a smash play. I'm on a half unit for that as well, because, I spoke about this last week. I don't like double dipping in the same game, but for the same reason that Gage Zeal's giving up a lot of runs, Sproat's kind of getting hit hard, and Florida's offense has been an absolute wagon. I think 12 runs is feasible here, and I think Miami is capable of scoring. I think the only path to victory they have is Yohandy Morales has got to go off, which he's capable of, and Zeal's got to have the best performance of his life. But I think aside from that, it's going to be higher scoring today, over on a Friday.
So you've correlated the over with Florida winning. Is that what? Okay.
Yes. Because 11 runs is a little low, no? I don't think Miami's going to get shut out.
I think it depends on how deep Florida's bullpen goes, or how shallow, I guess, the bullpen will go. If Sproat can give them 5 innings and only give up 1 or 2 runs, I think the path to victory for Florida is like in an 8-1 type game. But then again, I mean, if we get to the bullpen early, Sproat starts giving it up, it's 4-2 in the 5th, then I think the over is going to sail at that point. But I don't know. I'm hard to bet an over on a Friday night game. Although I do have one as one of my best bets, so we'll see. But I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Sproat in a competitive battle to where the talent level on offense is more similar. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and is just on point tonight.
That's a fair point. It wouldn't surprise me either, but just given the amount of runs that Florida's scoring, they have at least 8 runs in 6 straight games and 9 of 10 this season. Like if you pencil in, and not that we could pencil into any certainty the type of runs that you're going to score, but if we penciled in Florida for 8 runs today, I would think there's a good chance that Miami scores at least 3 to make it a push.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think given the information we have at hand, I think it's not a bad bet. That's why it's a half unit play. I'm fairly confident that this could get home and hit the 12 mark here.
Let's see what it is here real quick. So perfect example of shop around. I really like TCU Michigan over. I saw DraftKings put it out at 11.5. And I looked on Bet Saracen, they had it at 9.5. So that was an automatic play for me. I think TCU is still going to struggle on their pitching rotation, but I think they can hit the ball. And this Michigan team, I think they've got this game circled as one that they want to get. I feel like they're probably going to throw everything they've got into this tournament matchup. And I could see this easily going over 9.5. I really like it still at 11.5. I was still going to play it. So I could give it out at 11.5 if you can't get that 9. But the discrepancy on college baseball in general is huge. It's still at 9.5. Over is minus 105 in TCU.
Yeah, 10.5 here on draft. 10.5 here on DraftKings. So I mean that's just kind of what we've been talking about. TCU, I'm a little sour on. I feel like they're going to come out and really hit the ball well tonight. So I feel like that over, especially if you get that 9.5, is a good number because they really got held in check by Florida State, and I feel like Kirk Saarloos and that team is just going to be ready to get loose and get some revenge in this tournament. I think what are they playing? They're playing
the Shriners.
Shriners, yeah. That's where I watched a lot of Tennessee, Texas, and I think LSU last year. That was some tournament last year. I was in Nashville watching that. But
Miami, Florida is 11.5 now on Saracen plus 105. So that's probably going to be a stay away for me. If anything, I would take the under 11.5, but now it's juiced to minus 125. I'll probably just stay off of it. I'm heavy enough on the Florida Gators. I'm just going to root for them to pull it out.
That's fair. And if you have DraftKings, like I said, it's still 11. Florida's taking some money. They're out to minus 150 right now, so people are starting to come in. So I definitely made sure I got in on the Gators today. I have a little parlay as well that I'll share all my best bets with you guys later. All right, so let's move on here. Let's go back to that game that we highlighted last week. We're going to go Ole Miss Rebels against the Maryland Terps. I put this one out at 170 with Maryland because, Matt, assuming it's the same thing, which I don't know why they wouldn't throw Savacool tonight, I got to take Maryland again against Jack Doherty because I don't see why Jack Doherty is a Friday guy. And Maryland, we know, can hit the ball, even though they left a ton of runners, a small army on the base paths last week. They can still hit. It's their bullpen that's the question. But I like Maryland on Friday night with Jason Savacool, their ace going.
Yep, absolutely. Another one of my best bets, plus 170. This was plus 185 last weekend when they played. Same exact matchup. Maryland won, 7-2, something like that?
9-2.
9-2. So, I know it's hard to probably beat the same team twice in the exact same situation, but they are at a different ballpark. And Maryland shouldn't be plus 170 against Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss is very good, but I'm going to keep betting them until they beat me on this.
So this is interesting too, because I honestly I didn't forget, but it escaped me momentarily. This game is part of the Cambria College Classic, which is not on TV. I don't know if anybody can watch it. Like, it's annoying because you're putting up a good tournament with good teams, and nobody can watch it except for like this Flow Sports or whatever. I don't have it, but not the point.
I couldn't even find it on Flow Sports.
I don't know where it is.
It's being aired.
I have no idea.
Ridiculous.
But in any case, this game is being played at US Bank Stadium, Minnesota, the home of the Vikings. And so I'm very curious how the turf is going to play a factor. I'm curious about the indoors. You know, you don't have to battle the elements. And, you know, the ball's probably going to fly in the stadium.
Yeah. That may be – what are the other matchups today on that? Do you know?
Well, Vanderbilt's playing Nebraska
right now,
which is nice because I can't watch the game at all. Not that I wanted to watch Vanderbilt play.
Vandy's up 3-1 in the 6th.
Yeah, they got a hold of it, but let me see. I don't know who else is playing this game here. So I know it's those two teams today.
Ole Miss Maryland's at 4 p.m. Eastern.
So that's the next game.
Yeah. I don't know. Vanderbilt's just not looked great. I don't know much about Nebraska. I know Ben put out that he kind of liked them as a dark horse to win the Big Ten, but I don't know if they're going to be able to hit the ball as far in this stadium. Wondering how that works out. I wish I could watch it, see.
Yeah, me too.
That would make too much sense.
Hawaii, Minnesota is the 8:00 game.
Okay.
Yeah, I was looking at Vanderbilt. I didn't play anything Vanderbilt. I was looking at their under. It was 10.5 or 11 earlier. I was going to give that out, and I kind of leaned towards the under as I've been doing in Vandy games. But honestly, I didn't like anything. They had all low scorings against UCLA, and I'm kind of staying away like you are, but. We're in agreement here, so we're both on the Maryland Terps for today. Seems like it's going to be Jason Savacool against Jack Doherty round 2, like it was last Friday. I feel like the total's on par. I'd probably lean a little bit towards the over because considering the fact that they've already played each other last Friday, I don't think Savacool is going to be as sharp. I feel like Savacool, where he went 7 innings, 1 run last week, is probably more 6 innings, 3 runs today, that kind of thing. So Matt, let's move on here. We have another great game in a rivalry of South Carolina. We have the Gamecocks, underdogs to the Clemson Tigers with a total of 11. Can you believe that the number 23 ranked team, South Carolina, is an underdog to Clemson, who, if I'm not mistaken, just got swept by Central Florida last week? Is that believable?
Hats off to Central Florida. I think they're a damn good team, but I don't understand this line. I made South Carolina in the 150 ballpark, and when I saw it, I think I got it at minus 105, but still, if they're a dog, this line is so wrong. South Carolina is smashing the ball right now.
Yeah.
And Clemson, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with them.
And not for nothing, though, like South Carolina's throwing Will Sanders. Will Sanders is a projected top 20 pick this year. A team that can put up 10, 15 runs with a pitcher who profiles first-round stuff, they're underdogs to a Clemson team? I don't understand that at all. I think this is another classic example of a misprice on a book. It's important to shop around, and it's important to identify when they're making mistakes because, again, this is one where I could see South Carolina blowing out Clemson to a degree where tomorrow South Carolina is in the minus 185, 190 range. And then they have Noah Hall, who just went 8 shutty with 12 punchies against UPenn last week. I think this is a classic example that very well could happen. I think the Gamecocks, a.k.a. the Rake Cocks, are to play tonight. I think it's the correct side, and I think the number, like the Florida Gators, is a little out of whack. It's a wrong price that we should be taking advantage of right now. Absolutely, no question about it.
Yeah, I think odds makers are still down on South Carolina for whatever reason, but they are smashing the ball. They're like Wake Forest right now. You just can't stop that offense, and so I don't know why you wouldn't back them here at the short price or plus money price.
You know what annoys me? I mean, it's good in a way because it means we're on the right track, but it's bad in the regards that South Carolina, what I was talking about, they were 100-1 to win it all last week. They've come down to 75-1, and they're even 60-1 in some spots with how well they've played. That's a big drop. And I actually was a little too late. I didn't get a piece of South Carolina, mostly because I didn't really think they would win the tournament. I think they're alive to get in and make some noise, but I don't really think they have the full roster to pull off an upset like that. But the way they've been playing, they could be an ATM this year. They could wreak a lot of havoc. And as soon as that pitching staff gets even a little bit tighter, Will Sanders, their Friday guy who's pitching tonight, I think he's just got to get a little bit sharper, some early season jitters and whatever it is. I think this team is going to be really good heading down the stretch here, Matt.
Yeah, they should be fun to watch in the very least. And speaking of Texas A&M, do you have that one on your card for today? That matchup with Louisville?
No. So I looked at that one, to be honest. Texas A&M Louisville, which is another game between two ranked teams. I also think Texas A&M didn't fall far enough, and not to be over dramatic of getting swept by Portland or almost swept by Portland, needing a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth to bail you out. I wasn't big on Texas A&M coming into the year. They really got hit hard in the draft. They lose a guy like Dylan Rock, which was big for me. They have a couple guys from last year, but they lose Micah Dallas. They lose their stud closer Jacob Palish, who's like a super senior. I just didn't buy A&M this year as a good team, and if they are, it's not going to be until probably later in the year where they pick it up around. And I'm not big on Louisville either, but I would definitely take a stab at Louisville today. But honestly, it's a complete stay away game for me. What about you? What are you feeling about that game?
I've got A&M as a best bet with Detmer going. I think this is the one that they've got to win in the Shriners Classic. So I do like them. I thought minus 120 was too short of a price. I think Texas A&M can get it going. But I totally understand why you'd be on Louisville. I can't get on board with them. I don't think they've got the pitching to contend with the A&M offense, who Boast, I think, finally got some stuff going the other day. And, I think A&M is probably still a wait and see as far as how the season's going to play out. But I definitely think A&M, top to bottom, they're the more talented team with the better pitcher going today.
Yeah, Nathan Detmer I just think he's a little inconsistent. I spoke about A&M a lot last year. They were one of my teams that I thought were going to be a dark horse to win it all heading into the tournament. I had a good number on them, and I said if their pitching could meet their hitting halfway, they have a really good chance to win. And Nathan Detmer stepped up when it counted. Same thing with Micah Dallas. And I think ultimately that was then, but this is now. So A&M, I really have to wait and see. I can't touch anything they're in because they're just too streaky. They're like Vanderbilt. That's like a stay away team, whether you're playing for them or against them.
Yeah, sorry. I guess you heard the C-130s flying over. They fly the same path about 4 times a day. So I get 3 or 4 of them every day, multiple times, flying right over. They were really close today.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool, actually. But all right, let's move on here, Matt. We have the Campbell Camels, a personal favorite of mine, against the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana Lafayette. This was another tournament team that made some noise last year. They were a scrappy bunch, and it's even. It's minus 115 on both sides on DraftKings. If you go on other books, Campbell's a meaningful favorite. Not meaningful, but a clear favorite. You could still get the Camels here on a good number, and to me, it's a no-brainer. You got Cade Cooler going. You have an offense that could definitely put up 12 runs, no doubt about it. Even though Louisiana Lafayette's a good team, I just think Campbell is head and shoulders above them. I feel like they should take game one with their ace going, and if I was going to pick a side on the total, I would go out on the over here.
Yeah, I'm on Campbell with you. It's not going to be a best bet play, but I did just bet it. I think Campbell is the right side.
We've talked about this a lot. The Campbell Camels, if they played in a different conference, like the SEC, hypothetically, I don't think they would be that bad. I think they could finish top 4 in the SEC.
If they had access to all the same facilities and everything, yes. I think their talent level and coaching is great. Now, you take a small school, you put them in SEC as far as endowment and facilities and budget and everything like that. Yeah, but I think based on talent level alone, for sure.
Excuse me. I 100% agree. All right, so we have one more game that I really wanted to talk about. Then obviously we could open it up a little bit more to other games. So we got the Texas State Bobcats and Grand Canyon Antelopes. Grand Canyon is a slight favorite here. This was something that I profiled, like I said earlier, as the second best series of the weekend behind Miami and Florida. I think today we have to a surprise. Zach Thornton is throwing for Grand Canyon, who's good. He had a really good outing last week. I think he's a talented starter, but he's the Sunday guy, or should be the Sunday guy. I would have thought it would have been Connor Markle, or Daniel Avisha, but it's not, which I find a little peculiar going against Texas State's ace, Levi Wells.
I wonder if this is one of the cases where they're planning on dropping the first game and winning the last two. You know, that's going to be a tough series for both teams. I don't really have a lean either way. I think at this point, Texas State tonight sounds like the right side. What's that number?
It's minus 110.
Which side are you on?
I'm on Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon?
I could understand if Grand Canyon loses tonight. Like you said, that thought was in my head as well. You know, Texas State is a really good team. These were two teams that were in the tournament last year. Texas State lost their stud closer, Tristan Stivers, and his curveball. He went 7 innings, 1 run against Stanford last year in the regionals. If it wasn't for the ace coming in as the closer, Levi Wells, who's throwing today and blowing it, Stanford would have been eliminated in the regionals in a monster upset. I don't know, though. I know Texas State's got a solid offense. They're probably going to be in the tournament again. I think they take the series. I feel like Grand Canyon might lose the Sunday game with Connor Markle, because Markle, as good as he's been, he's got the tendency to be a little bit shaky and get himself into some trouble. So I feel like Grand Canyon would take tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost, but considering, in my opinion, they have the better offense. Jacob Wilson's gotten it going a little bit. Homer Bush is heating up. They have a couple guys that really can make a difference, and I feel like Grand Canyon is the right side here in a slight lean. Could see this one being under an 11.5 as well.
Yeah, it's probably a stay away for me. If I had to take a side, I'd probably lay it with Texas State, but I do like Grand Canyon to win the series.
Yeah, it's not a bad side. If Grand Canyon loses today, I would definitely back them again tomorrow, because they have their guy.
If only we could bet series prices. How lovely would that be?
Yeah, that's the next step, man. I feel like there's a lot of progress that we have to make in order to make betting better. I mean, even Major League Baseball, you really can't bet series prices until playoff time. But I do like Grand Canyon. I still have a ticket on them at 75-1. I advise people getting involved. I don't think they're going to win it all, but I think they can make it far. I think they can make it to the Super Regionals. And if they get a good enough draw, and they get hot at the right time, it wouldn't be a surprise to see them as a dark horse to get to the College World Series, which at that time, if you have enough on the price of them, you could start playing the hedge game a little bit and, create a little bit more equity out that way. But Matt, we've covered everything that we wanted to in terms of the main games. Did you have anything else besides TCU, besides Texas A&M, that you wanted to look at? And if not, what's your favorite plays and looks of the day today?
I think we've covered everything. I am on Michigan plus 150. I'm on Maryland plus 160 as the best bet. A&M, South Carolina, and 2 units on Florida. And then I did go ahead and put TCU Michigan over 9.5 as a best bet. Michigan plus 150 is really just more of a gut play, playing down on TCU. I think Michigan may have this game circled as one that they really want to steal. And at plus 150, they've got some batters on that team that I think can keep up with TCU. Hence why I also like the over. Only other play, I did take UCF plus 105, and I parlayed Tennessee, LSU, and Arkansas at minus 118 today. And best bet, hands down, Florida.
All right,
I love the Gators.
We're simpatico on that. I think the one underrated matchup that I wanted to talk about today is Dallas Baptist and Southern Miss. So Southern Miss is a team that I didn't mention earlier on my list of losers. I was very disappointed in them, especially last Friday. Tanner Hall got lit up. Their offense couldn't really make any kind of a comeback. When they got somewhat close, their bullpen just imploded. So I think Dallas Baptist, they're also a team that is like a mid-major school that tends to be in the running.
A lot of talent.
Yes, they're always a talented team. They're like a Southern Miss where they come out of nowhere, and they're a team that you have to look out for coming down the stretch. I think getting Dallas Baptist at 115 today isn't a bad proposition. I also, at the same time, think it's very unlikely Tanner Hall has 2 bad outings in a row. Like, he had a really bad outing against Illinois.
Are they for sure starting Tanner Hall?
From what I saw, they are.
Okay, I would assume so. I just wondered. I would take Southern Miss. I don't think Tanner Hall comes out again and loses. That was terrible outing. Hats off to Illinois. Can't believe that they beat them, but I don't know. That's college baseball for you.
Yeah,
but I think Tanner Hall's too good. He'll get it together.
That was a little unbelievable. Would you lay the 205 at Florida State today against Gulf Coast?
I think I would. That's a high number. I may try to find someone to parlay him with, but what's the run line?
The run line is 1.5. Florida State minus 125.
Yeah, see, I just lay the minus 205 instead of the 125 on a run and a half.
Yeah, I was debating whether I wanted to lay that 205. I feel like Florida State is going to win.
If they got Florida State, here's what I can't figure out. Is Florida State good, or are they just peaking too early?
Like, are they the same thing?
Are they kind of like TCU last weekend, which I know 3 games isn't really peaking too early, but especially in the longevity of the baseball season. But are we over? Like, is TCU that good? We don't know. Florida State beat them 10-1, 10-8, and then lost 3-2. Is Florida State that good? And you know how my thoughts are on these small Florida schools. They get the leftovers that can still play. So I wouldn't be surprised if Florida Gulf Coast takes a game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You'd think Florida State's a safe bet. I may not lay 205 on it, but I feel like if Florida State's going to win a game, they're going to win tonight. Maybe lose on Sunday, but I would parlay them with like a LSU or Florida.
So speaking of, I took 2 parlays today. I have Florida and LSU. So LSU is playing today. They have Butler. They're minus 750 on the money line. They're 5.5 on the run line. So it took LSU throwing Paul Skeens, which I wish you could bet his strikeout total because he's got back-to-back double-digit punchies. I would probably think he has another one today to make it 3 straight. And then Florida, obviously, we're in love with. So we have a lot invested in the Gators today. I'm really hoping they pull this one out. And then I have also Tennessee in a separate parlay with them. So one is just LSU, Florida. Another one is LSU, Florida, Tennessee. Tennessee has Gonzaga, which the reason I did a separate one was because Gonzaga is a sneaky team. I don't think they're an elite program, but they're one of those kind of teams that you have to watch out for. Now, it seems like Tennessee has found its rhythm and hit its stride. They get Maui Ahuna back, Griffin Merritt, Blake Burke is hitting the cover off the ball. So I would think that they win. I probably wouldn't be too keen on laying a 3.5 run line. And you got my boy going, right? You got my boy going. Chase Dollander, he's on the bump ski. And I just think I love betting on it. And I love finding a way to get the Vols involved. Matt, I just think Tennessee.
I think Tennessee bounces back. Yeah, Tennessee's got to bounce back big. And, I mean, they've already started to. You know, they handled Dayton. And this whole thing with Tony Vitello, I've got some buddies that are big Vols fans, and I was texting them about it. They said that he's cleared. Everything's good. He's back with the team. So, Tennessee is about to turn into a force again.
So with that being said, a real quick dip into that futures market. I got them at 8-1 preseason. I don't think there's any of those left. The 8-1s are gone, but there is a couple 7-1s out there. I would start looking at betting Tennessee 7-1 now. It's highly unlikely that the Vols and even LSU is going to get towards that 10-1 range at any point this season, barring something dramatic. So I'd probably start looking at backing the Vols at 7-1 because if they keep winning like this, their price is going to come down and stay in that 6-1 range with LSU, which to me is still a little ridiculous. It makes sense, but it's still such a low price that at that point I'm not looking to get involved. But I still think there's a little bit of value left in that 7-1. It would be a 2-unit play for me because I think the Vols are very hungry. And they get Maui Ahuna back, who is a clear difference maker, and their pitching staff is just disgusting. I'm looking for Chase Dollander to come out with 6 strong innings tonight, try and rack up double-digit punchies, and I think they're great in a parlay. That Florida-Tennessee LSU parlay is a good 156 tonight, plus 156. So, Matt, I think that's the play for me tonight. It's a full card, 8 plays. You know me. I don't like to have that many as we got another flyover here, but
yep.
I think there's a lot of good looks on the board tonight. I really do.
Yep, I agree. What's the run line on Tennessee? Have you seen one?
Yeah, it's 3.5.
May lay it.
It's plus money 3.5 on DraftKings. You're getting it at 105, which I
think this is going to be your classic Tony Vitello comes out full asshole mode and just lays it on him.
I could see that. I can absolutely see that. It's like the I'm back it's like the I'm back party, right? Tony V, you got Chase D on the bum ski. All weapons go. I mean, if you look at what they've done, they beat Dayton by 10 last Friday with Chase on the mound. They won 4-1 with Burns on the mound. They won 6-0 last Sunday. They won. I mean, they've been putting it on teams. So I don't think it's bad to lay that big run line. 4 runs against Gonzaga. I think we're onto something here. I wouldn't hate it. I'm not rushing to the window to back them minus 3.5 or plus 105. But I wouldn't hate you if you took that because I think this is definitely a good bet here, considering what the Vols have looked like.
Yep. Let's do it. I'm going to roll with it.
All right, good. So we're both on it. All right, let's start rounding back in here. We got Johnny V's Loch Ness Monster of the day. You should already know what it is if you paid attention to the podcast today. It's the Florida Gators money line minus 135. We talked about a lot of the reasons, but the simple answer, if you missed it, you're never going to be able to get Florida Gators at this minus 135 price. Not never, but rarely this year will you get this price. They're going against Miami's Gage Zeal, who's making only his third career start as a pitcher at the college level. He's played two bad teams, and he's gotten lit up. 7 innings, 9 runs. Now he's going against the team that scored the third most runs in the country. I think it's Gators all the way here. We're both in agreement on this. It should be an absolute smash piece for the Florida Gators.
And also worth mentioning, I did put a small wager on Florida plus 1,400 while I was out at Circa to win the College World Series. I think with what they've got going, that there's some good value there. The guys at Notebook Wagering kind of talked me into that too, but they're really talented, and I think that number only goes down as the season goes on. So I did play that as a futures play.
I haven't played that yet. I want to. I really want to put a ticket on Florida. I just hate the fact that that's the best number I'm going to get. It's not a bad number, but so if I'm going to play that for Florida, that's a 2-unit play for me. I'll put up a couple $100 in order to take Florida at 14-1, 15-1, whatever it is, because I don't see too many teams beating them. And right now, my portfolio looks like Tennessee, Wake Forest, Mississippi State, Grand Canyon, and I think that's it. And speaking of Mississippi State, real quick, they're on tonight. I don't know where you could even watch them. They're in a tournament. Finally, Matt, we have Durangelo Sencha, the switch pitcher, as the Friday guy. I don't know if it's just for this week, but if it is, the time has finally arrived, and it's great, man. If you haven't watched this kid pitch, you're in for a treat. Sits 95, 96 as a righty, 92, 93 as a lefty. He's going against Ohio State, which actually I think is going to be a tough matchup because Ohio State should be throwing Isaiah Coupet. He did really well against Grand Canyon. So I can see this being a really tough game. I can see this going under the number of, where is it? I can see it going under that 12.5 number.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one that I'm going to try to watch, just to watch that pitcher.
If we can watch it, because the televising of the game just seems
you never know.
It seems to be difficult. It seems to be difficult. But Matt, we appreciate you so much for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
Follow me on Twitter at Grissom Tweets, listed below, and then mattgrissom.com. That's got my preseason preview and a link to all my best bets. They're all free all the time. Go check out that resource.
Appreciate you so much for joining me. And
as
always, dude, we're going to definitely have you on again. We got to keep doing this. I love chopping it up with you. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at _JohnnyVTV, Instagram, JohnnyVTV _, and TikTok, JohnnyVTV. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week, next Friday, when week 4, we're one step closer to in-conference play. Take it easy.
I can do this with my eyes closed.